Welcome to Real Leaders with Roshini, the podcast with real talk, real questions, real insight, and we hope real inspiration. For real. My guests today, I'm so excited about them. Power couple, Nicole and Greg Jennings. We are in downtown Minneapolis at Capitol Grill, which is really no stranger to real leaders. Greg Jennings, former Green Bay Packer, Super Bowl champion, his beautiful wife, Nicole, who used to be a nurse, I would never have thought that, now is a fashionista and owns Queen Anna House of Fashion. They're both philanthropists, co-founding the Greg Jennings Fund in 2008. Welcome, Jennings.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here, and you know, I really first want to get into the family piece. So a couple years ago, maybe it was, I saw an article. You and your beautiful children were featured in the Wall Street Journal. Great pictures, great house, and it made me just really think about what makes a football player tick, what makes a family tick, living in that spotlight of the high profile. So Nicole, let's start with you, because you know, in a way, I mean, you didn't set yourself aside, but you had to kind of allow him to shine.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're one. So I feel like when he shined, we shine together. That was more of our way of looking at things. And I think that post-retirement, it's been him supporting me in my endeavors. And so it's really nice to have our children see both sides of that.
I love that. Greg, what did it mean to you that she did allow you to shine like that?
It was everything. Obviously, with what I was in pursuit of, to have the support of my spouse, my wife, my best friend, my number one supporter, my number one fan at home, and being in agreement, it meant everything. I could give all to what it was that I was trying to attain, and obviously obtain and attain. So for me, it was one of those experiences that I will never forget. She still does the same thing in my pursuit of all my other goals and endeavors and initiatives, and I just try to return the favor as equally as
you do a good job
as she did for me.
What is your advice, Greg, for men out there supporting their girlfriends, their wives, especially once it gets to the wife space? Because this, I mean, whether you're a professional football player or a husband who's not in the spotlight, it's kind of the decade of the woman, but it doesn't mean that men aren't important. How do you support your woman, and what's your advice to other men?
Well, for me, it's all about being comfortable, being vulnerable, and understanding that she has gifts and talents that the world needs, that women need, that children need, that men need, that I need, and she inspires me. So it's really easy to watch and to support and to encourage. And the way that I look at it is, it's one of those deals where I don't necessarily want to push her. I don't want to pull her back. I just want to caress her in her space where she knows I'm there. I'm what she needs, when she needs, where she needs it. And it's a total vulnerability deal, but I'm comfortable in that space because I watched her in that space with me for many years. And I think with the family dynamic that we have, it makes it easy because I want my girls, I want my son to understand that you don't have to always be out front to be important or to be seen or to get your voice across or to be heard. So it's to be a great leader, you have to be a great servant, and you have to know how to serve.
Wow. I love that line. You caress her in her space. She does that for you. Nicole, you have 4 beautiful children. How do you keep them on the ground? Because they've got high-profile parents, beautiful parents, parents that could probably give them anything they wanted, but how do you keep them grounded?
I definitely have to say that it's, again, going back to the we thing, because I grew up much different than Greg. He has both parents, and they're still married, and I grew up with my great-grandmother, who gave me everything. So we come from 2 different spaces. So when it comes to our children and the way that we parent, it's really a great blend. And the way that we keep them grounded is that they're in the philanthropy field with us. Like when we do our football camps back, we go back home to Michigan and we do free football camps, or when we're doing our site visits here from the grants that we've given, our children are with us. When it is, I remember we spent one Thanksgiving at, was it Salvation Army, I believe, and we went that morning and I took my older two and we served before we had our own meal. And so again, just allowing them to see that the way that they live is not the way mommy and daddy lives. You know, we didn't go to a private school. We went to public school and we caught the bus, and, you know, just understanding the fullness of life and how blessed they are, being grateful there, but also knowing that they have a duty to give back to those that may be a little less fortunate.
I love that. And the Greg Jennings Fund has raised now more than $500,000 and counting. You're not stopping anytime soon. What does it mean to do this? Because you, Greg, you end the NFL career. You're now a Fox Sports analyst. Nicole, you have your fashion business, and you're a stylist, and you're doing some amazing things. You could just do that, and life would be pretty darn great. Mm-hmm. So why do the fund?
Because it's more than just right now. It's not about us. In essence, we're living life for others as well, our children, but also others that are coming after us. And it's about, in my point of view, about paving the way and assisting those that need it in a bigger scale of things. Life is, people can get in that, routine of every day, like living and doing the same thing over and over, but not expanding themselves, but not helping others either. And I feel like, just like he was saying about being able to let the world be impacted by what it is my gifts are, there are other people who have gifts but just need help getting it out there, just need help and confidence, being able to interact with Greg on a down-to-earth level, and he's a football player, but when you're talking to a little boy who has aspirations, he's like, I can do this now, just because he's encountered Greg. And it's about planting those seeds or watering the seeds that have already been planted in these people or in the world to see things grow, it's bigger than us.
Greg, you are still in the spotlight as a Fox Sports analyst, and just having been a Super Bowl champion, that's going to live with you. It's part of your legacy. It probably continues to open doors for you. But there's also a downside to that professional athlete's world. We see it in the headlines. You obviously, the two of you look so in love. You're just a model couple. But not every football player or past football player has that life. So how can you also, maybe in the league right now, be a model, a role model for the men coming up after you?
For me personally, it's simple because I'm not a football player. I don't look at myself as solely a football player. I was not a football player before I was a husband, before I was a brother, a friend. I'm Greg. Mm-hmm. And so that's who I give, that's what I offer. And just really jumping back into the fund, for us, it's about sowing seeds. And sometimes the intention of why we sow a seed or why we do a thing is for us, our own, I'm going to call it selfish initiative, but it's far greater and far more impactful than what we ever really imagined. When that seed begins to bud and turn into something great, then we see how much this was needed for not only us, but for everyone. And so when it comes to sport, whatever career path you're in, but for me specifically, the sports world, I just had to be Greg. And that's what I offer. I offer real me. And that's not a football player. Anyone can play a sport. Anyone can perform in a professional career. But can you actually educate? Can you actually influence in that space? And that's what separates a lot of great, successful men and women in our world. And that's what makes great leaders.
All right, just Greg. Well, you did.
I know, right?
I love that.
That's
like the quote of the day. All right. You did join the Minnesota Vikings in 2013. We've had a rough couple years, but it took us to some heights that, I had a chance to see the new Vikings practice facility. It's amazing. There's so much potential for this team. Will the Vikings ever win a Super Bowl?
That's for them to answer.
He's not going to touch that one, Nicole.
No, the thing is in life, you really are. Life is set up for everyone to fail, but we all have opportunity to achieve greatness. In that failure, even in that failure, or that greatness, is going to be failure. So when I look at the Vikings, they were exciting, not this past season, but the year before. But they experienced some things that teams who want or aspire to be great, they experience. And now they have an opportunity to learn and grow from those things and be what they want to be. Not so much what everyone expects them to be, but what they know they need to be for themselves inside out. And then I think just in life in general, that's the approach. That's everyone's goal, is to be successful, but you have to be willing to be resilient in those moments where you're not successful. It hurts. It is some failed moments, but
and they're very public.
Yes, they are, and that's the world that they live in. That's the world that we all live in, being who we are in the spotlight. But we tend to thrive in that space.
I know, you turn a camera on in front of our kids, it is go time.
They love it. Are they divas already for the camera?
They are all about the camera, and such special little humans.
Oh, they are so beautiful. What is it like being the mother to those children? They're everything.
You're gonna make me cry now.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
You can just see it in your face, right? We're like, I all cry.
I mean, because we talked about this the other day. Like, we do what we do for them. Like, everything we do is about thinking about them. Our choices that we make every single day, like, that's life. Life is a series of decisions, and when I make a decision, I think about them. And
you really put them first.
Yeah.
All right, on a really much lighter topic, we are in Capitol Grill, downtown Minneapolis, and I have a feeling you every once in a while have a glass of wine or a cocktail. If you could be a spirit or a cocktail or a wine, what would you be? I'm going to ask you both that.
I would be a red blend.
Ooh. I love Greg's face on that. Surprise. A little bit of surprise.
Yes.
What do you think she would have been?
I would have guessed that I can see her as a blend, but I would have guessed a Pinot, very a red Pinot.
Mm-hmm. Very red.
Very smooth, but has a lot of element to it.
Good choice of words.
Very good.
Yeah.
I said a blend because it just depends on the day, right? Sometimes I am smooth, sometimes it's not so smooth. So it's just a blend. It just kind of depends on the day. But I go well with all things.
I love that. And Nicole, what would Greg be?
Oh, a Cabernet. All day. Yeah. He's a consistent individual right here. Like,
would you agree, Greg? Cabernet all the way.
He just does not change. He's a very consistent human. It's great.
Doesn't mean that I don't enjoy other wine selections, but Cabs, they are what they are.
Right.
You know what you're getting. I don't want to say that there's no surprise element to them, because there are, but they're really consistent.
Yeah, I know that.
And they adapt to whatever you're eating, really.
It's good. Well, it's good to see balance between your wine choices as well as you both as a couple. So let's talk about that, because there are some real leaders with Roshini listeners who want some advice from Greg and Nicole Jennings. how do you keep it sexy and hot and fun? When you've been together, first you were a couple without the kids, then you're a couple with, eventually 4 kids. You got all the different things. How do you keep it fun and sexy and hot?
I remember when we first got married, Greg's dad is a pastor, and so he did our wedding, and when we were doing some of our counseling sessions, I remember him very clearly saying, you have to make time for yourselves together, just you two. And every week, if it's just, I remember we first got married, we would do like Home Depot, or you even said like we would go to IKEA just together and just be together doing things together. And it's about being intentional, right? Because life is so fast paced, and if you're not intentional with your time, before you know it, you won't have had the time. And Greg travels a lot. And so it's also that opportunity for me to steal away with him. Well, he's working, but then just he and I are together after work. But we try to have at least one day of just he and I, date night, or even like we did lunch the other day. But
so I'm gonna jump in. I'm not gonna even be as deep. I'm just gonna be very surface and like I listen. Like I'm gonna talk about myself personally. Like listening, and everyone talks about communication. Communication is great, but if you don't listen,
right,
it's hard. You're defeating the purpose of why you communicate.
Right.
And so there's things that she says that she sometimes don't think that I'm listening at the moment, but I am, because I want her to understand that I hear her and I'm listening and I'm putting action behind what I'm hearing coming out of your mouth. And as a competitor, a natural born competitor, as someone who I love her, I love to make her smile, I love to make her laugh, I love to see her happy. I want to be the one that does that for her. So I listen because others are listening too. Like, I'm just being honest. Like,
it's great.
There's so many people you find yourself talking to, men, women, whoever, and they're listening. They can hear what it is that you're really after, what it is you really want. And I want her to know that I hear that, and I'm going to give it to you, and I'm going to listen to all the small details, and I'm going to deliver.
And Nicole, when those small details,
he does.
What's an example? Can you think of a small detail that all of a sudden surfaced that you maybe didn't even realize he was paying attention?
That I don't eat lunch. I don't eat. I'm in my zone and I don't eat. And so I'll get a text message, or I'll get, come to the door, I've got food for you. Or he'll come in with my kids and they'll have flowers. So yeah, he listens. I need to take that. I got to get better.
And maybe it's because you're doing multiple things at once.
It definitely is. I mean, but he is too. It's just, again, this is our yin and yang. Like, he's got a strength in an area of listening, and I've got the other communication talk down. Like, I've got that talking all down. He's got the listening.
And I think it's more than just listening as well, because she has the listening part down. And I think in relationship, the number one thing to keep it, you say, sexy, to keep it fresh, to keep it real and set ablaze, like on fire, like, you have to be present.
Yeah,
you got to be
huge.
present. And for me, when I played ball, when I'm at work, they have my undivided attention. And so when I come home, whether it's with the kids, whether it's with her, like, you have my undivided attention. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not on my phone, I'm not multitasking you. And so for us, because I've grown to know that this woman will take on the world, and we can take on the world together. But if I see that you're needing something from me, the world is gonna have to wait.
I love it.
And it's not talk. Like, I'm like, did you email them back? He's like, no, I was with you. It's like, yeah, I guess that's right. Never mind.
And don't get me wrong, I could be better in that area, because sometimes I allow things to kind of lie dormant a little too long.
But when it's the family, he really does just drop everything.
Which is great, and it's something for a lot of people to aspire to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole, if you could go anywhere in the world with Greg, just Greg, where would you go?
That's a good one.
That is.
I would do the Holy Land tour.
You just took it out of. I literally was gonna say Israel.
That's good. Just that's where, because I mean it's something that I want to do. We go away on our anniversary every year for a week or so anyway. But we've been taking turns planning the trips, so he's listening. So
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And what about Greg? If you could take the whole family, all 6 of you, where would you go?
The entire family. Oh man, I mean, because I know what my kids enjoy, the Bahamas or Cayman Islands, because they've never been, but it's a place where they can see through the water,
which is important.
Which
for
is
them.
very important. They have the sand, they have the sun, and it's just us.
Australia.
It's just us. No, there's too many other things.
Turtles, yeah.
No.
Turtles.
We have a difference in opinion when it comes to destinations with our kids.
And animals, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know. Wouldn't have thought that.
No. Well, we had
We frequent
iguana.
the Bahamas.
Oh yeah, well
quite
that's their
often.
favorite place. But we had an iguana situation happen, and it just didn't go well. So now we have to. Our oldest is like, are there iguanas there?
And it's hard because warm destinations, most of those destinations
Have iguanas.
they have lizards, they have iguanas.
I'm like, so you
geckos.
don't really want to go to the beach.
Right. You know what? Now I'm worried about iguanas. We may go to Australia in the summer, and now I'm thinking about it.
Yes, and
Don't even think about
And
it.
I don't really care for turtles either, but I feel like if you go and you like scope the lay of the land first, you're good. I think that.
I think if you stick with the Holy Land and Grand Cayman, you're gonna be okay.
For sure.
Yes.
Gosh. Wow. Well, okay. Our Pinot and our Cabernet. Nicole and Greg Jennings, just a pleasure. So much
Thank
fun to chat with you. Thank you for being on Real Leaders with Roshini.
Absolutely.
And until next time, keep it real.